Hey there, welcome back to my kitchen. You know, my garden is really doing extremely well, better than I ever expected. And so this morning I went out and harvested some basil and some rosemary because I've been really wanting to make two things since last year, and that is rosemary salt and basil pesto. I have never made those before, so I thought today we could make those together and then also work on a few more things in the kitchen. So let's get started first with our rosemary salt. Now you want one packed cup of rosemary leaves. Now these are the leaves that I picked this morning, but obviously I was not picking enough. So I went back in the garden just a few minutes ago and picked some more, and I have rinsed them really well. I don't use pesticides in my garden, but I like just to make sure that there aren't any little bugs or creatures in there, so I kind of wash it. As you can see on here, the rosemary stem has kind of a white piece and then it has a darker piece, more like a branch. So I just cut it right above the darker piece because it's easier for me to use these herb scissors to strip the leaves into the cup. So I take, and you have to be careful because these are quite pointed, but this is the only way that I figured out really to do it well. And I put it in the largest notch, hold it from the cut side, place it in the large notch, and then just gently glide it over the stem, and then you will get the leaves off of these. So we'll do that again. And there's a few leaves that are left on where I'm holding it, so I'll just kind of prick those off and then just kind of separate them. Have come off. I'll try some more. And it releases it. I'll link these scissors down below. These were a wedding gift, and I'm really enjoying them this year now that I have really kind of expanded my garden. I also use these little scissors to go out and cut my basil and cut my rosemary. Also, any of my herbs really, my oregano that's out there, and parsley. So I use them in that manner as well. This one was a little smaller of a stem, so I probably should have gone down a notch in it. But it kind of saves time, at least for me. So I have my 1 cup of rosemary leaves. I'm going to put those in my food processor. Now in the food processor, I just have the blade in. I don't have the grater attachment in that. Now I'm not going to dispose of these. What I'm going to do is I'm going to save them in a plastic bag because this has still a lot of aroma to it, and I'm thinking about putting this on our fire pit as a little kindling to make it smell really nice. So I'm going to put this in a self-closing plastic bag, and I'll put these in the refrigerator used later on this evening when we're outside. So we're also going to need a cup of coarse salt, like sea salt. Whoops. Got some clumps in there. Put that in the food processor. And then we're going to need 3 cups of kosher salt. So I have my 2 cup here and another cup. Thankfully, I have another one of these in the pantry. Let me go get that. I think this is going to be really a great addition to adding to fish and poultry. So there's 2. And then we'll do 1 more cup. Now we'll just blend this together. Much better. I'm going to do it a few more times just to get some of these bigger pieces out. And so it's a nice little green texture coloring to it. It's broken down the salt into really kind of a fine sand texture to it. Now I'm just going to pour it on a baking sheet and let it dry for about an hour. Thin layer on here. It's kind of, it's not wet, but it has a little bit of moisture in it. So I just want to make sure that we have all of that out before we put it in a container to store. Rosemary salt will last a long time. It has a long shelf life. So this is great. You can even pre-package it for gifts. Let this cure out the air for an hour. Now let's get ready for our basil pesto. All right, so I cleaned up the food processor and we'll need 2 cups of fresh basil. And this was from this morning's cutting. I'm gonna put that into the food processor. We need a 1/2 cup of pine nuts. Now I don't have pine nuts, I have walnuts, so I'm gonna use that instead. Let me get my scissors. These are walnuts that I purchased last year at Costco, and they had them on sale, and I put them in the freezer. So we're going to do a 1/2 cup of the walnuts. And 1 to taste, of course. Put that in there. We also need a 1/2 cup of Parmesan cheese. We need 1/4 cup of extra virgin olive oil. I'm going to use the light one. Let me get my 4th cup out of here. Now I'm going to freeze this. I'm not going to use it immediately. I'm going to put that in here. We're gonna make sure that we drizzle that in as it's processing. We'll need 3 tablespoons of lemon juice. We need some garlic cloves. I don't have garlic cloves, I just have this. So usually 1 teaspoon of minced garlic equals about a garden clove. And I love garlic, so even if it's a little bit more, I'm not gonna complain whatsoever. I think this will be good on pasta, on some garlic bread to spread on it, even on a bagel in the morning. That's what I'm thinking. We will put the lid on. I'm gonna start drizzling it, and then I'm gonna add the oil and the lemon juice here. So let's get Here's 1 tablespoon. 2 tablespoons. And 3 tablespoons. Going to make sure it comes off the sides to really get it all chopped up. But it smells absolutely amazing. Before we put the lid on, we're going to do a little bit of salt and pepper. I'm gonna see how it tastes. I really, honestly, have never tasted pesto, so this will be a true first taste test. I'm gonna see if I need to add more salt and pepper to it. So maybe a little bit more salt. I need to stir that up a little bit. It's still a little chunky, in my opinion. So let's add some more salt. Spoon. We're going to taste it now. It looks much smoother. It smells amazing. Maybe a little bit more maybe a tad bit more pepper. So we're gonna add that and give it one more go. I think most of the pepper ended on top of this blade, so that's probably why I'm not tasting that. All right, third clean spoon. That did it. That tastes really good. I'm gonna put this in a freezer bag and put it in the freezer to use for later. No, I'm not gonna put it in a freezer bag. Rethought. I'm gonna have some clean canning jars that you can put in the freezer, and we're gonna put that in there to save some room, and then I'll remember what it is after I label it. So let's do that together. So I did a little cleanup, and so I'm just gonna spoon this in to a 1/2 pint jar. There's a little bit left in here. I'm not gonna fill it all the way because this will expand. So I'm gonna wipe this rim off. Put the lid on it. Today's date. Today is July 4th. And I put pesto. So this will last in the freezer 3 or 4 months from what I'm reading. So I'm gonna put that in the freezer and then we'll start our next preservation project. I had a little bit of the pesto left. And I'm thinking that this vegetable pasta, I think I'll make that up, and I usually put Italian dressing on it and then add some like broccoli florets or a little bit of cauliflower or even carrots in it to make kind of a more of a vegetable light lunch for me. But I'm thinking maybe I will use this pesto in it for a different depth of flavor. So that will be exciting to try. Maybe today. We'll see how today goes. So that's another way that I thought about using it, because I had some of this that I purchased when it was on sale, and I thought, that might really add to the vegetable flavoring of these noodles. So we have about 11 more minutes for this rosemary salt to be drying out and curing. So we're gonna go on the next project, and I've recently made a short where my husband just loves popsicles, particularly grape popsicles. So I make my own very simply. I use a form like this that I got from Amazon, and I'll see if they have it still. If not, I'll put something very similar. And to save money, we just use regular grape juice to fill them up. And it saves a lot of money. And I'm not wasting the other popsicles that he nor I would drink. Making sure I have a little bit of headspace there. And they stand up very nicely on their own. I like to hold it while I'm pouring the grape juice in it. Make sure they're secure, and I can go add these to the freezer. So I just put it, line it there, rotate it so it gets cold, and then in a few hours it'll be ready, but we still have 4. This came with a set of 6, and so as I wash them up, I just refill them and put them here, and he can enjoy them all summer long. The last project is putting away some meat that I've already cooked to put into the freezer. So earlier this week, I did make some barbecued chicken in the air fryer, and I made enough to eat on it a couple of days, and I thought I would have enough left over to put several pieces in the freezer. But my husband really enjoyed it so much that he ate on it for more than a couple of days. And so I think he said, I truly only have one piece left, so I'll put that in for a future meal. So what I'm using is I'm using our food saver that I purchased at Costco on sale last fall. And I'll just pre-cut my bag. I like it all in one. And then I will simply seal that edge. And it doesn't make as much noise as my last food saver that I had for nearly 15 years. My parents had given me my old one, and it had the food saver, and it had a separate compartment for the bag storage, and it was very, very loud, but it was very useful. I used it quite a bit up in Tennessee. So we're gonna put our one sole piece of barbecue chicken. Let me get some tongs. And we'll put that in here. I love making our chicken in the air fryer because it makes sure that it's cooked evenly, and it's also stays moist. So my chicken and my pork chops always go in the air fryer. I never put them on the grill anymore. So I'm just gonna simply push this to operate on the side here. And then now I'm going to vacuum it. It's a dry ingredient, so, well, it's actually moist. So let's do it moist, and then hit the vacuum. Makes a little bit of a noise, but not nearly as much noise as my last one. I'm doing this in the morning. My family is still asleep. They stayed up late last night to watch all the 4th of July war movies. That's one thing they love doing. And so I'm glad this is not very loud. They're being rudely woken up. Now it's sealing it, and then when it is done, simply push it to open, and I got a nice seal. I always write what it is and then today's date with a Sharpie. PQ chicken, and today is July 4th. Happy birthday, America. We'll go put this in the freezer. So I've gotten 3 projects almost finished. So the timer just went off, so it's time to spoon this in to this jar that I have. I did taste it, and it really has kind of an earthy salt taste. And you can smell the aroma from the rosemary. So I'm thinking this will be great on some poultry or fish. We've used rosemary salt before. What are some other dishes that you have used? Comment below. I'd love to learn some other ways to use this. Again, it's my first time preserving anything like this, and I may have gotten too small of a jar. But comment below, because I would love to learn other ways that I can utilize this in my cooking. Very excited to be able to use rosemary. Rosemary this year in my garden has done very well. Last year it did not, and I think the difference is that I had it in a smaller pot than I do this year. That was the one thing that I noticed. So this year I did plant it, a transplant, in a larger container, and it's doing very, very well. Looks like I'm gonna have to get another container. I did not judge that very well. But I'll go ahead and seal this up, and I'm gonna put my label. I will link these labels below. When you wash the container, it dissolves automatically. But let me go get another container because obviously we need some more. All right, let's see if this will hold some more of it. I really don't want to use a mason jar that I'm about to use for a canning project. So thank you so much for hanging out with me today and walking along this new preservation journey that I've been doing this year. I really had fun making that pesto, and I may even work on that pasta idea that I had later on today, we'll see. But we made pesto, we made rosemary salt, we replenished our grape popsicles and put away some chicken to use for a future meal. Be a great lunch thing for myself or my husband. So thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I hope that you have a wonderful day. I think that my pool is calling me, so I'm gonna go and enjoy the rest of our 4th of July. And until next time, thanks so much. I'll pop another video up here of some other preservation projects that I've done. And in the description box, I will list the recipes that I used today so that you can try them out yourself. And also some people have commented about this apron that I made. I will include that link to a video that I did on this pattern. And so if you're interested in making your own types of aprons, you can do that as well. So have a great day, and until next time, happy gardening, happy preservation, and have a wonderful day.